talking free agency. We're making some trades here on Fantasy Football Today. Adam, Dave, Jamie, Heath. So George Pickens is potentially a free agent, probably going to get the franchise tag. Daniel Jones, potentially a free agent, might get the franchise tag. Alec Pierce is someone we'll talk about. Breece Hall, we know he might get the franchise tag. Ken Walker, reportedly not likely to get the franchise tag. Franchise tag's a little annoying for this show, but we'll just talk about the guys who could be free agents. And also we're going to make some mock trades. So should be fun. Welcome, everybody. Let's let you know. Do you guys know who has been number one 2 years in a row at wide receiver, minimum 50 targets in yards per catch and yards per target?
Alec Pierce.
Alec Pierce. Getting better in yards per route run. He's got 13 touchdowns over his last 2 seasons, which is pretty good. And he's never had more than 84 targets. So he is, Heath, I use the word interesting a lot. Oh, this isn't interesting. This is interesting. I really think he might be one of the most interesting players in the NFL. Who is Alec Pierce? Can he be more than just a deep ball guy? But man, he is really good at being a deep ball guy. He's, I know, one of the free agents that you wanted to discuss.
So you want me to talk about where I want him to go now?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've got another one that I can throw because I had a bonus just specifically for you. So we can get to that later in the show. But no, I think he is an elite deep ball wide receiver, and I'd like to see him in New England with the guy who was arguably the best deep ball passer in the NFL last year in Drake May. So if we're going to find a good fit for the best, arguably, deep ball receiver on the market this offseason, then why not send him to the best deep ball passer?
Okay, well, we'll just start with Heath. So we got 2 from Heath, 2 from Dave, 2 from Jamie. Good morning, Dave.
Hi.
Morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
How you guys doing? Feeling
good? Dreamy.
I love talking about Alec Pierce because he was one of my favorite prospects when he was a rookie. And so I'm excited to see him potentially get a chance to go and evolve into a number 1 type receiver for an NFL team.
Right. Well, that's the question. Can he evolve into that, or is he pigeonholed into being the 20-yard ADOT guy? I mean, he's also led the NFL in ADOT 2 years in a row, top 5 3 years in a row. Pretty unbelievable what he was able to do last year. 1,000-yard season for Alec Pierce in 15 games with that kind of ADOT. But I'm sure one of the reasons you liked him, Dave, is a second-round pick, 6'3", ran a 4.41. So it's Heath's. I'll throw it to Heath.
I think the other thing is I don't really believe that there's much hope that Alec Pierce is going to turn into a 130 target guy. So he's to be a guy who matters for fantasy football. He's probably going to have to remain a guy who's extremely efficient on his on deep balls. And honestly, like you mentioned that he's led the NFL in yards per reception. It's insane. As a rule, I don't project somebody for over 16 yards per catch because nobody over their career, except for maybe Deshaun Jackson, averages more than 16 yards per catch. He's averaged 18.7 yards per catch for his career. The last 2 years, 22.3 on 69 targets and 21.3 on 84 targets. Just any other, and I like we'll expect some regression. I'm not going to project him for 20 yards per reception, but you have to expect some regression there. I think going to New England, maybe he doesn't see a huge bump in the number of targets he got. They didn't seem super interested in having like a clear number 1 guy that threw the ball to 8 or 9 times a game every week. But he could maintain that efficiency to where if he gets up to 100 targets, maybe he's a top 24 wide receiver.
Jamie, how would you feel about Alec Pierce going to the Patriots?
I think it's a great fit. I mean, look, any of these wide receivers that we like, so the older guys, Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, the George Pickens, Alec Pierce, these guys that are going to hopefully be or potentially able to test the market. Like, you want to see them with good quarterbacks. And obviously what Drake May showed in his sophomore season was MVP worthy and, took his team to the Super Bowl. And as he alluded to, a lot of it was because of his success throwing the ball down the field. And here you have this, wide receiver that I think is capable of doing more, but has certainly shown that he's very efficient and effective with his plays down the field. So there's a lot to love about the fit. So I think, New England, Buffalo, those are going to be the, probably 2 most high profile destinations for wide receivers. You'll get the Raiders and, whatever else, we see sort of how this shakes out. There was about Washington yesterday in regards to Brian Thomas, about that type of fit. So there's going to be all these, various destinations, but I think Alec Pierce to New England makes so much sense.
I'll give you a counter though, or a negative. They've already got Kayshon Boutte, right?
Oh, he's better than Kayshon Boutte.
No, he is. But let me give you a spot where he wouldn't have any competition in this role, and he'd play with a quarterback who actually averaged more yards per attempt and had a better touchdown rate and a better passer rating than Drake May on deep balls, and that was the guy who just beat him in the Super Bowl, Sam Darnold. So what if he goes to Seattle, replaces Rashid Shaheed, who's also a free agent? Would that be better or worse, do you think, than New England?
I think it would be worse because there's no JSN in New England, and I am more concerned about the low pass volume in Seattle than I am in New England. So I think you have a smaller pie in terms of total targets in Seattle, and you have one guy taking a much larger piece of the pie.
Yeah, you don't want to see him. I mean, look, it makes sense, but you just don't want to see him go to a place where there's already an established elite player. Like, you see him go to Washington, for example, where McLaurin's maybe starting to hit the backside of his career. You see him go to San Francisco, where there's, Ricky Pearsall, who's yet to establish himself in that situation. Buffalo, I think, would make a ton of sense because there is no number one receiver there. He could certainly thrive in Seattle, but I think his fantasy ceiling is better in a place where there's not somebody that's going to dominate targets like there would be a Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so Alec Pierce to New England. If that happened, give me a round in which you draft Alec Pierce. Oh, by the way, is Stephon Diggs on the Patriots in this scenario? Staying there?
If he wants to take a pay cut.
Okay. He's not a free agent, right? I'm just...
No, he just has an enormous...
They have the option to move on from him.
Right.
They designed the contract where they can opt out of it. It was, friendly for both sides.
All right, Heath, Dave, Jamie, give me a round for Alec Pierce on New England.
5-6 turn.
I was going to say 6.
If he's the only addition that they make, round 5.
Okay. And Alec Pierce, or in this scenario, Jamison Williams.
Probably Pierce for me.
Yeah.
I'd say Pierce.
I think I'd say Pierce too. Just a quick point here. There's some prohibitive issues with Pierce if you're going to keep him in the exact same role that you're keeping him in. Number one, he's going to get paid. The franchise tag for wide receivers is 28.8 for 2026. So the Colts might just say, you know what? We're going to move on from Michael Pittman. We're going to give this big wheelbarrow of money to Alec Pierce. We'll figure out a long-term deal later. And the hope is that if you're going to pay a wide receiver that kind of money, he better do more than just be a deep ball guy for your team. I'm stunned when I looked this up. Targets of 10 or fewer air yards last year, Alec Pierce had 19 of them, 12 catches, 105 yards, 1 touchdown. They didn't deploy him as an intermediate or even a short area target. They've got to add, whoever signs him has to add that to his repertoire if they're going to pay him anywhere from, let's call it $27 to $31 million a year. Look at all the other receivers that are getting paid that much. None of them are doing just, 20-yard, 8 air yard stuff. So I think any team that signs him better have designs of making him a clear number one wide receiver. And if that's the case, and if we really learn that before drafts kick into high gear, we're not getting him in round 5 or round 6. He's going to go earlier than that.
I think if a team is doing that, though, from a contract standpoint, they're like Christian Kirk overpaying because they need to get him there.
But it ended up not really being an overpay. Not much. Like Kirk was.
Well, it was at the time.
It was
Yeah,
very
we
much
thought
so
so.
at the time.
We thought he ended up being a pretty good deal, I'd say. But I know what I remember that reaction. I was like, whoa, they just overpaid Christian.
Right.
Well, it was the Jacksonville tax. It was how do you get free agents to a place where that's not a popular destination? And the thing that comes to mind is like you could see the Raiders overpaying for somebody like this because they want to get him. You can see the Titans overpaying for somebody like this because they want to get him.
Man,
and to Dave's point, it's like are we viewing him now in that role because of what the dollars say, or are we viewing him in that role because he had to get there? The team had to get him there. So that's the thing you have to determine. And then obviously that comes down to quarterback, offense coordinator, system, all those things. I just I hope he's just not like a better version of MVS. When I think was the Chiefs, maybe were they the first team to pay him? Whatever it was, I don't remember when he left. That
Green
Bay.
Sounds right.
But like you're just looking at a guy. To your point, Dave. Like, is he just going to be on a different roster doing the same type of things, which is still good, obviously, but he's not round 5 worthy now.
Okay, let's go to Heath's next dream fit, and that would be Kyle Pitts returning to Atlanta. We touched on this earlier in the week, Heath, but the Stefanski bump.
The Stefanski bump over the last 3 seasons, Kevin Stefanski's offense has averaged 167 tight end targets per year. That's an insane number, rivaled basically only by when Travis Kelce's fully Travis Kelce and the guy who left Kevin Stefanski, Drew Petzing in Arizona. It's just what this offensive scheme does. And I think we'd probably take Kyle Pitts or Isaiah Likely in Atlanta. I am slightly more optimistic about Pitts' ability to go have a tight end 1 overall season than I am Likely. So I'll put him in Atlanta. I still believe he's good. Maybe he's not the greatest tight end ever, like he was sold when he was drafted by some, but a very talented, still very young tight end in a system where they love to throw the ball to the tight end.
Anybody want to see Kyle Pitts go anywhere else? Go somewhere else?
Sure. I don't know if I've got a name or a team that makes sense.
Is there anywhere else that Kyle Pitts would be ranked higher in August than Atlanta?
Sure. If he goes, let's talk about some of those teams that have a lot of cap space that have to overpay for some of these free agents. So if Pitts doesn't get the franchise tag and his franchise number is 16 million, that's far more palatable than what it is for a wide receiver.
I got one.
If he goes to a spot where he's going to clearly be the number 1 target, I could see myself being a little bit more excited, even if it's not as great as an environment as what we're expecting in Atlanta. Because I'm still going to have those numbers of what he does when Drake London's on the field that will keep me from being excited about Pitts if he stays in Atlanta. I don't care if Stefanski's there or not. I don't think Stefanski's going to take a ton of targets away from Drake London just because he likes tight ends. Tennessee is one that comes to my mind because they've got a ton of cap space. Their first round pick is very early in the round. There's no chance they're going to take a tight end there. There's only 1 tight end that's going to be drafted in the first round this year anyway. So they could go and plunk down a bunch of money on Kyle Pitts. They could add another wide receiver in the draft. They're going to build around Cam Ward. They've got Brian Dable calling the plays. I might be a little bit more excited about Kyle Pitts being there, especially since I don't know if Tennessee's defense is going to suddenly get a lot better. And it might mean a lot of high-scoring games, or at least moderately scoring games for Tennessee, and it could mean more short area targets for Pitts, which he got a ton of last year, both with and without Drake London on the field.
The best place is Atlanta. I think another place that would make some sense would be Seattle because their new offensive coordinator is the tight ends coach from San Francisco. And you're looking at A.J. Barner as not necessarily a guy that's going to command targets and be a threat. And you just mentioned this, Adam Shaheed's a free agent. Cooper Kupp's 33. This is a quarterback that has leaned on his tight end at times throughout his career. Could be a very good tight end environment there in Seattle.
I think
But
even
he's still got Drake, or he's still got JSN to contend with. For
Oh, no, I'm not
targets.
expecting to be
He's
one,
laid
but
it
I don't
out.
think
That's still a team that wants to run the ball a good amount.
Yes, so does Atlanta. But I think in the case of the Falcons or anywhere, he's not going to be 1, but he could be 2. I mean, I don't think he's getting more targets than Drake London in Atlanta.
No,
even before
he would
Kyle
probably
Pitts,
be 2 in Atlanta.
broke out, had the Drake London list games, he was usable at least. Because what they've done with him is lowered his ADOT. It used to be the highest among all tight ends. He would line up out wide 30% of the time. Last 2 years, he's out wide 15, 16% of the time. So they've changed his role a little bit. They made him a little bit more dependable, more short area stuff. But okay, so that's Kyle Pitts. Heath wants him back in Atlanta. Alec Pierce to New England. And I want to take a break. And when we come back, quick news item. I will save the news for the end. I did have a pretty, I think, interesting, I use the word interesting too much, interesting note on Dalton Kincaid, and we'll get to Jamie's ideal free agency or trade scenarios when we come back.
When you need your sports news all the time,
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
We are back. Sorry. Don't know. I was between welcome back and we are back, and I combined them. We are looking back to Jamie, who has two running back scenarios here. Breece Hall to the Jaguars, and Dave's going to tell us where he wants to see Travis Etienne go. Breece Hall to the Jaguars and Ken Walker back to Seattle. We know you'd be very excited about that, but let's talk about Breece Hall. Let's say these two things happen. Breece Hall goes to Jacksonville. Ken Walker stays with Seattle, and then we get a report. Zach Charbonnet is expected to start the season on the PUP list, but be back by week 5. Who are you drafting first? Breece Hall with the Jaguars or Ken Walker with Seattle?
Breece Hall with the Jaguars. But I like Ken Walker staying in Seattle as well. But I mean, look, the offensive environment for the Jets has been bad for Breece Hall. He's overcome some of it in his career. Obviously, the start of his career was great. The first 4 games of his rookie season, he was a monster, tears his ACL, comes back as a very surprising season, despite the fact that usually you're better year 2 removed from your ACL. Not bad in year 3, terrible in year 4. And really, it was just an awful Jets team in 2025, as we're well aware. So you look at what the Jaguars offense was able to do in the first year with Liam Cohen. I'm hoping it's going to be as good, if not better, in year 2 for Liam Cohen as they continue to build out their offensive line and Trevor Lawrence gets better. Travis Etienne was great last year. And obviously, they like Bashal Tutin to a degree. But I don't know if he's necessarily an alpha, whereas Breece Hall has proven that he can be an alpha and would be a fantasy alpha and potentially in the mix to be the number 1 running back in fantasy on a much better offensive team. So is Jacksonville the most ideal fit? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, like, imagine if he went to Seattle and in the same situation that Ken Walker was just in. But leaving the Jets and really going to any offensive upgrade would be a significant fantasy upgrade for Breece Hall and would be, in my mind, no worse than a round 2 pick, and might be challenging to be a round 1 pick if he's on the right team.
I really wanted to put Breece Hall to Kansas City, but I've just let myself become accepting of the fact that the Jets aren't going to let us have anything nice, and Breece Hall is going to be stuck in New York. But yes, I'd love to see Breece Hall in Jacksonville or Kansas City, and I agree, early 2nd round pick either way. He's probably a 1st round pick if he's with the Chiefs.
Are there any teams that you don't want Breece Hall to go to where you'd say, oh man, I'd rather he just stay with the Jets?
Maybe he goes to a team where he's sharing.
Right. Sure.
Steelers or something, you know. So how about this? Who would you rather see on the Jaguars, Breece Hall or Travis Etienne?
Breece Hall.
Breece Hall. Yeah. He was more efficient last year than Etienne. He's been versatile for a long time. We know what he's capable of doing. He's 2 years younger than Travis Etienne. I really just want to see Breece Hall play anywhere where he's just going to get a ton of work and be the lead guy. If that ends up being the Jets next year, you know, you'll hold your nose because it's the Jets, but at least he'll have the opportunity to do well. And hopefully Frank Reich coming back to maybe reclaim his spot as one of the league's better play callers could end up being a good thing for Breece.
Heath, did you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I think it's probably Breece Hall. I always like the continuity because it makes it much easier to do projections. So Etienne staying in Jacksonville. Now, I don't like the continuity with Breece Hall staying on the Jets because that's just a terrible environment. But I'd be pretty excited about Travis Etienne as well if he stays in Jacksonville. He'll probably be a round 2 pick for me.
So I guess that just means we're not really thinking Bashal Tutin's going to have any major role, that it would just be complimentary no matter who the.
No, I mean, look, if they let Etienne walk and don't sign somebody of significance.
No, I'm saying if Breece Hall went there.
Yeah. Then Tutin would be the 1B, maybe 8 touches a game.
1B? No, you're thinking he'd be running back 2.
2C at best.
Yeah, right. Like 1B to me implies.
Wouldn't he be used almost as he would be used with Etienne last year?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he didn't have a big enough role last year to really hurt Travis Etienne. Maybe a occasional week here, he'd have some goal line work, but he didn't really affect Travis Etienne. You're thinking if they get Breece Hall, if Jacksonville gets Breece Hall, Bashal Tutin stays in that same role and does not affect.
What did he average in terms of touches per game last year?
He had 93 in 15 games.
Okay, so that wasn't even
6.
close to 8 per game. So yeah, that's in the 6 neighborhood. Yeah, that's probably where he'd be. I don't think he'd see an uptick if they get Breece Hall.
Okay. Now a couple of follow-ups here. I asked you, Jamie, Zach Charbonnet is going to come back in week 5 in this scenario, and you take Breece Hall over Ken Walker. So Breece Hall goes to Jacksonville, Ken Walker, Seattle, and we get Charbonnet in week 5. Let's say we get Charbonnet. We don't even know. It's like he's going to miss the first half of the season. We don't know when he's going to come back. Or how many games would you need to know Charbonnet's out to move Ken Walker in Seattle over Breece Hall in Jacksonville?
At least 10 guaranteed.
I think the problem there is that if they don't think Charbonnet is going to be ready in the first half of the season, they're probably adding a running back to share with Walker.
Right.
What if Charbonnet's out for the first 4 weeks, and Ken Walker just crushes it, and you've got Charbonnet coming off a torn ACL? Maybe things don't go back to the way they were. Maybe Ken Walker's just going to have a season no matter what.
Oh, I mean, look, if he misses any portion of the season, there's going to be a ramp up period, so no matter what games he's back for, it's still not going to be the same Charbonnet workload. Now, he may be the short yardage guy, which could be awful for Walker. He may be the passing downs guy, which could be awful for Walker, and just be sort of pigeonholed in one of those two roles as opposed to both, which is what he's been doing, certainly in the Kubiak offense. We'll see what the new offense coordinator wants to do. But I think if you just take the small sample size, and it's only 4 games, I mean, Ken Walker was absolutely beyond dominant without Zach Charbonnet this year. So the 3 playoff games in week 3 against New Orleans, when he missed, he averaged over 23 PPR points per game. The only 2 players in fantasy better than him were Christian McCaffrey and Puka Nacua. And so in each of those 4 games, he was 18 PPR points or more. Like, that's just absolutely dominant. So could Breece Hall do that? Sure. I mean, again, he showed that his rookie campaign. But at least you've seen it now in this offense. So to Heath's point about continuity, like, you're getting, again, coordinator change. Yes, a guy that's going to run some similar concepts, obviously. Run game coordinator for San Francisco. That's typically been a good job. Mike McDaniel was in that role before he became the head coach of the Dolphins. We know what that run offense was like in Miami. So there's just a lot to love about Ken Walker staying in Seattle with an injured Charbonnet. Now, the other side of that, Adam, is what if Charbonnet makes a miraculous recovery and is ready for week 1? And so there is no ramp-up period. So he's gone through camp. He's close to being ready to play week 1. They still maybe put him on the PUP list, but or short-term IR, whatever the makes the most sense. And we see a situation where it's 2 weeks that he's out or still not playing to his level after 2 weeks. And Ken Walker could be awful. So, I mean, there's a lot at play here, but I just like the setup if Walker stays and you have now a banged-up Charbonnet. The only report that I've seen, and I haven't seen much on this, I certainly haven't looked as closely since the Super Bowl ended, was Schefter reporting that Charbonnet is facing a long road in recovery. And if that means PUP list, if that means midseason, I mean, look, they just won their Super Bowl. They obviously know that they have a team that's built to, make a playoff run as it stands right now, depending on what the offseason looks like. So I'm sure they're going to be cautious with him no matter what they do.
Okay. Zach Charbonnet had 12 rushing touchdowns last year. The team had 19 rushing touchdowns. Charbonnet had 12, and 9 of them were from 5 yards out or closer. So it's an amazing role that.
Did you see what Walker had, though, in those 4 games?
No. I mean, you just told me the fantasy points. I don't know the goal.
He had 6 rushing touchdowns in the 4 games that Charbonnet missed.
It would have been 7 after a holding penalty in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right.
They really. This offense was really good last year, produced a lot of rushing touchdowns, and Zach Charbonnet had 12 of them. Okay. All right. That's Jamie's. I did have another question about Breece Hall, but I'm going to save it for another show. I'm going to give you this last stat on Breece Hall. Since he entered the league in 2022, the Jets have had 23 running back carries from the 3-yard line or closer. It is the fewest in the NFL. 23 goal line running back carries for the Jets since 2022. Last year, the Rams had 22 alone.
Yeah.
For running backs.
Wow.
All right, Dave, let's get into your dream scenarios. I think you have the wrong team for A.J. Brown, but that's fine. You have A.J. Brown to New England. I think that's a typo. You meant Buffalo. And Travis Etienne to Kansas City. JK, Dave. But anyway, talk about A.J. Brown and Travis Etienne going to Brown to New England, Etienne to Kansas City.
So I thought about what Jamie had for his running backs, and I thought to myself, okay, well, if Walker's staying in Seattle and Breece Hall takes Etienne's spot in Jacksonville, where should Etienne go? And, of course, I connected the dots to Kansas City. Doesn't have to be a long-term deal. We already talked about how he's one of the older running backs in the league, but he's versatile. He's still fast. He can still produce in PPR. His rushing metrics were kind of mid last year, but he's still an okay pass protector. And I think that's going to be one thing that the Chiefs have to have in that backfield, because Patrick Mahomes coming back from his knee injury, they need somebody there who can help protect Patrick Mahomes and keep him upright and not get hit. And I think Etienne, previous to this year, wasn't that good in pass protection, but he did play better there. PFF graded him high, all that jazz. And I think Etienne could be a really good fit for fantasy purposes as the lead back in Kansas City.
Give me a round of applause.
Early round 4.
For Etienne in Kansas City?
You're not getting. I think he's going to go earlier.
He's going round 2.
No chance.
And I'm not getting him. I certainly don't want to overvalue him. And I do think that he will split with somebody. It's not going to be Pacheco. Probably won't be Kareem Hunt, although one of those guys might be back on the roster. No, early round 4 is what I was thinking. But obviously, I'm a little low on Etienne there.
Well, that would, you know what? Look, that's where Breece Hall went in the draft we just did. Obviously, we didn't have the franchise tag news or anything like that at that point. Who did you take, Heath? You took a running back there, I feel.
I have absolutely no.
I have it open. Round 4.
Yeah, didn't Heath take a running back?
He took Quinshon Judkins with the second pick in round 4. Breece Hall went right after that, and Etienne went right after that. So, yeah, okay, maybe early round 4 for Etienne with a question mark next to his team. That probably is going to go up if he's in Kansas City. So you guys are probably right. I don't know if I love him in round 2. Because look who went in round 2. Like Saquon went in round 2. Josh Jacobs went in round 2. Like I'm taking those guys ahead of Etienne if Etienne goes to Kansas City.
I would take Etienne over Barkley right now if he goes to the Chiefs.
Is Kansas City still the destination that we're making it out to be?
If it's one guy. If it's
Yeah,
one of these
guess.
guys that they have to actually commit to. If they end up going with Tyler Algier and somebody else to work on passing downs, then no.
Right. Well, let me just see. So last 2 years, they've been 12th and 20th in points per game. Give me a guess. Where do you think the Chiefs will rank in points per game this year?
How many games does Patrick Mahomes play?
17.
How many games does Rashee Rice play?
17.
Okay. 12th at worst, 8th, somewhere between 8 and 12.
Yeah, it may have as much to do with how many of the defensive players the Chiefs have to cut to get under the salary cap to actually sign a running back. But I'll say 10 to 12.
And they were 14th, by the way, the year before that. So
I also think you see less Patrick Mahomes scrambling next year, first year off the injury, and which probably means more dump offs to running backs. So I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen the Chiefs throw their running backs more than they did last year. I wouldn't be surprised if they do next year.
Ready for this? Remember it. February 19th. Here's the prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Reid retires, forced to retire after the Chiefs missed the playoffs again. Patrick Mahomes no longer considered a top 5 quarterback in the NFL after the 2026 season, after 3 straight years finishing 12th or worse. It would be 4 straight years finishing 12th or worse in points per game.
Chiefs forces one of the greatest coaches in NFL history to retire. It forces
He's going to get Harbaugh. He's going to like Harbaugh, right? There's like,
I think you are really underestimating the amount of, it's the first year off the ACL excuses that there will be.
They're gonna realize something's rotten in Kansas City. I think it's right there before our eyes, and we keep ignoring it.
I think anytime a team misses the playoffs once in eight years and doesn't make the AFC Championship game once in 7 years, you have to wonder what's wrong with the franchise.
Something's rotten with their offense. Their defense has carried them the last several years. Their offense is stuck in the mud.
I mean, you're not far off. I don't think that's such a crazy prediction. I mean, look, Andy Reid's going to be asked about retirement every year for his career moving forward, and may just decide that after 20 plus years he's done. And look, Mahomes is getting older; he's coming off a significant knee injury. Like, you're not really going on a limb here.
No, I think that's the thing, right? Like, we are seeing this right before our eyes for 3 straight years. This offense has been average. Patrick Mahomes has been one of the worst deep ball throwers. That is the biggest difference. And it's not just like he doesn't have Tyreek Hill. He misses badly on great opportunities. He's not good at it anymore. He hasn't been good the last 3 years or last 2 years, really. We see it right before our eyes. They don't have guys who can beat man coverage. Rashee Rice.
Well, I mean, look, there's a lot of things that have fallen apart around him.
Yeah.
His offensive line has been very shaky.
Yes.
They have not had a run game to support him, and
Correct.
that's been a huge part of this. You're right. The defense has carried them, which is not a bad thing when you're talking about team success. But Travis Kelce's getting older. They lose Tyreek Hill, who was at the time, went on to have back-to-back 1,700-yard seasons. It's not like he was done, So, I mean, the Xavier Worthy pick was a bust, at least so far. Rice has had a hard time staying on the field, whether due to injury or suspension. I mean, there's a lot of things that are at play here. This is why teams don't have continued success. And the Chiefs have been sort of, I don't want to say lucky because they've created their own luck, but they've been lucky in terms of some of the circumstances that defense and offense good at times. And then they get to, 2 Super Bowls where their offensive line fell apart in both of those. I mean, it happens. They're a great team, great franchise. But
they are. They're incredible.
You gotta consider the fact, can they rebuild on the fly? And that's where they're at right now.
I don't really think it's a rebuild. Like, they obviously have a good team.
It's a
but
retooling.
The way we're talking about the Chiefs is, we want this guy to go to the Chiefs. We want this guy to go to the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been an average offense for 3 straight seasons. All right. Like, they're conservative. I think they don't go for it a lot on 4th down, right? Is that kind of their thing?
That changed last year.
Okay, that's good. They've been a conservative team. Hopefully Eric Bieniemy coming back will help. But I don't know. I mean, like, they just don't have, their players aren't that good anymore, right? That's the thing. Obviously Mahomes is great, but they don't have elite talent on offense anymore. You disagree with that, Heath?
No, I'm enjoying this.
I'm not trying to push Heath's buttons, Johnny Airport. I really believe what I'm saying. Now, I don't necessarily believe they're going to have a terrible season and Andy Reid's going to be forced to retire. I'm just kind of saying that facetiously, but I do see a scenario where the writing is on the wall. It's right in front of us, and we're not really paying close enough attention to the fact that the Chiefs are not what they used to be offensively. Not even
close. This is what a lot of people were saying last offseason, that the dynasty is over.
Maybe, yeah.
After they lost the Super Bowl.
They need to trade for A.J. Brown. If they just got a really dynamic playmaker on offense, it could change everything. But they don't.
Who's the last great player they drafted in the last 3 drafts? I'm looking at their draft results right now. I can name one who's been very good when he's
their
played.
offensive lineman, I would guess.
Karlaftis was 4 years ago.
Karlaftis
was 4 years ago. McDuffie and Karlaftis in 2022.
Creed Humphrey or one of their young,
all in that draft. Pacheco was in that draft. Jalen Watson was in that draft. And then ever since then, they took Ray Rice in round 2 in 2023.
Rashi Rice.
Ray Rice would have been a
Rashee Rice. My bad.
But some
Josh Simmons is a TBD. The D tackle that they got last year in round 2 is a TBD. Xavier Worthy. Am I being nice if I call him a TBD?
I'm not giving up on Xavier Worthy yet. I mean, he's still
right. Okay, fine.
Talented player, but doesn't appear to move the needle.
So that's part of the problem, is that they haven't been able to, what was the term, retool on the fly?
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been able to lean on the draft to do that. And that's hurt them. And it caught up with them when they had all the injuries. First on the offensive line in the Super Bowl against Philly. And then last year with all the other injuries that they've had.
Johnny Airport. If only Adam could find his soundboard buttons as quickly and easily as Heath's. I don't know if Heath seems completely unamused and uninterested in my my rant here. I just got a text message from a random number. From a recruiter who says they're hiring. Am I done with? Did I just lose my job because of my Chiefs rant?
No, it was actually you're Andy Reid's agent now. Since you're forcing him to retire, you're gonna get him a new job.
All right, listen, we got to take a break, and we'll talk about A.J. Brown going to the Patriots when we come back, plus the Rashee Rice news and what I teased about Dalton Kincaid. We'll be right back.
Critics agree Leadman is a hit.
We roll the dice one last time.
Men die. Oil companies don't.
Here's your daily reminder, or at least when we're on the air, reminder that we have a lot of great podcasts on CBSSports.com. I'm going to go to the website right now, CBSSports.com. patreon.com/podcasts. Spelled it wrong. Now I got it. Eye on College Basketball. It's one of our longest running podcasts. It's fantastic. Inside college basketball with the first pick, The Early Edge, which is a daily betting podcast from Sportsline. Pushing the Pile with Kyle Long and Mike Renner. Fantasy baseball today. Obviously, they got their position previews rolling out right now. We've got Fantasy Football Today Dynasty. We've got Beyond the Box Score, Cover 3 for college football. We've got some soccer podcasts. We've got a DFS podcast that's not going to be it's a football DFS, but you're going to have to listen to that during the season and much more. CBSSports.com/podcasts. All right, Dave.
My bonus just for you.
Oh, wait, let's get to AJ Brown for
Oh,
Dave.
I'm sorry. I didn't know we had one left.
We do. To New England for Dave.
And so obviously I'm ignoring the Alec Pierce in New England because they're not going to add Pierce and AJ Brown. But I think AJ Brown would be a better all-around fit because we've seen him as a good all-around receiver compared to somebody like Alec Pierce, and he could help New England's passing game get better short-term, not a long-term answer, obviously, because AJ Brown, 29 years old as we sit here today, but he's had 1,000 yards, 7+ touchdowns, 4 straight years. Is he as good as he once was? No, but he's still capable of winning downfield, winning in the short area. He's got a relationship with Mike Vrabel. Vrabel was the coach in Tennessee when the Titans drafted him. And I believe Vrabel was on Team AJ when the Titans were going through whether or not they wanted to extend him, and they ended up trading him to Philadelphia, and they replaced him with Treylon Burks. That did not work out very well. There's one other thing that I noticed, and it's a Josh McDaniels thing. He's got a track record of getting the most out of new veterans to his team. There was Randy Moss, and I mean, that's kind of a layup, but Moss was someone that we did not love when he was with the Raiders, gets traded to the Patriots, and Randy Moss was on fire. Brandon Lloyd had a monster year when he was healthy in Denver. McDaniels was there for that. Devontae Adams, his first year before everything went sour in Vegas, he had a great year. Even Stephon Diggs last year had 1,000 yards and 85 catches with the Patriots. So I think that AJ Brown could give us one more real good year if he were to go to New England and be the high volume target getter that we kind of been wishing that he would be as recently as last year in Philadelphia.
My problem is the Patriots threw 5 more passes than the Eagles last year.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. I think that they're
is AJ Brown going to get? He had 121 targets last year. Nobody in the Patriots. Stephon Diggs led the Patriots with 102.
No, I think if they're going to make a splash for a new receiver, they would tilt the targets toward the new receiver.
He's also 3 years younger than Stephon Diggs, and I think a better player than Stephon Diggs, so probably commands more targets.
Right, but is it 20 more targets gets him to where he was last year when he was unhappy all year?
He was unhappy all year, but you take that stretch of games where, I forget what it was. Like we talked about this previously, Adam. I forget, it was like week 7 through 12 or whatever the middle part of the season that we're looking at here. He was averaging over 19 PPR points per game. Like he was still back to being AJ Brown.
That was when he told people to drop him in fantasy.
On the live stream?
Right after that, yeah. After that, he went crazy.
I'm amazed at how he commands targets when he just dwarfs Devontae Smith, and on a very low pass volume team. Also, I don't have this stat in front of me, but I remember Drake May, they were a low pass volume team, but they're not quite as bad in the first half. They had so many blowout wins, the Patriots,
which they're not going to have in 26.
It's hard to
be surprised if they did in 26.
Right, as many blowout wins as they did. So yeah, and is that your number one team that you'd like to see AJ Brown go to?
I would love to have the discussion about whether Buffalo would be a better choice. Obviously, the quarterback is better in Buffalo. We can make that case, but is that team going to suddenly become pass heavy to the point where it's unrecognizable compared to previous years? Joe Brady was the reason why they went run heavy and why James Cook has become such a monster the last 2.5 years. I'm not sure that's the direction Buffalo's going in.
You're right.
What about AJ Brown in the JSN role in Las Vegas?
Just rookie quarterback's tough to trust.
Right. I don't think I like that better. That would be better for his volume.
Is there any chance he goes to the Chiefs?
No.
San Francisco, maybe.
First off, the Eagles hate the
Would
Chiefs.
the Niners want somebody who could be a potential headache?
San Francisco, maybe. Yeah, they don't want to trade him to it. They hate the 49ers too. But also Chiefs, like salary wise, that doesn't make it. I don't think that makes any sense at all.
Salary is not always. I think there's always ways to fudge it, right? I mean,
Right, but the Chiefs are like the opposite of the Eagles in terms of use of void years and pushing money, using the cap to push money into the future. They just haven't. Maybe they'll change that too, but they haven't really done that.
Well, they just did it with Mahomes yesterday.
Well, they restructured, but I don't think they added a bunch of void years. They just moved money from this year to future years by making it bonus money.
It's kind of the same idea, but you're right. They didn't extend the. I don't think they added void years, but it's the same concept of they lowered his cap hit this year. It's going to be higher next.
The contract was designed like next year. It shows that it's 78 million. They'll just restructure it again and keep smoothing it out. The contract was designed to do that, but I think there's a difference between that and putting like I think AJ Brown has 3 void years on the end of his contract where he's not on the team, but they're paying him money.
And the Chiefs are not in a good salary cap spot right now, according to Over the Cap. They're one of the worst, but the Bills actually are even worse than them. But those are 2 of like the 5 or 6 worst cap situations.
I think after the restructure, the Chiefs are still 11 million over the cap. So
yes, correct.
Last thing about the Bills is they might lose 2 starting offensive linemen to free agency this year. So just be aware of that. They could end up having an offense. I mean, I don't think they're going to be as bad as the Chiefs. Well, they might take a little bit of a step back. Okay. Heath, troll me with your bonus. Your bonus here.
A wide receiver that you've never admitted was good, following his head coach to be the number 1 wide receiver for a team that we don't know who the number 1 wide receiver is. It's Wan'Dale Robinson going to the Titans. Brian Daboll loves adding wide receivers. I mean, he added like 7 Wan'Dale Robinsons in his time in New York. Wan'Dale Robinson was just the best one. So Wan'Dale Robinson on the Titans as Cam Ward's number 1 wide receiver.
Wow, your favorite Hurricane quarterback of all time and your favorite Giants receiver of all time.
Both of those are not true.
And your favorite Giants coach of all time.
Dad will be a Titans fan.
Definitely not true. I am a Titans fan. Yeah, you know.
Who is your favorite Giants head coach of all time? You got 2 pretty prominent ones too.
Tom Call. I'm not really from the Parcells era. So obviously it's Joe.
So Eli's your favorite quarterback of all time.
The thing I don't really care about. I never was a big athlete guy. I wasn't, I want your autograph. Maybe when I was really young, but I don't have a lot of favorites.
No, I'm saying your favorite to root for. You don't have to be like, he's my favorite human being of all time.
I love you. No, I don't mean it like that, but I root for the team. I'm so much a players guy, but yeah, I guess it would be Eli.
Adam likes the jerseys. Adam's a big fan of the jerseys. Cheering for the laundry.
If it were me,
a guy or a Barkley guy.
I spoke briefly on the phone with Tiki Barber one time. He thanked him. He said something. He's like, so I heard you had me on your fantasy team. I was in college at the time. It was pretty cool. So Barkley.
I remember I interviewed Tiki on the phone also once, and I was waiting for his phone call. I fell asleep, and the phone woke me up, and I was like so startled.
When was it? He was in the NFL at the time?
Yeah, I was at CBS. You know, I used to talk to players during the season a lot when I first started. And yeah, he was great. We were supposed to speak earlier in the day or the day before, and he was like very apologetic because he had something that changed it. He's great.
I think my brother met him and put him on the phone with me, which reminds me of a story from last night. I communicate with Dave Richards so much via text that I said to my phone, "Hey Siri, call Dave," which is my brother, and he's in my phone as only Dave, not his last name. Says, "Hey, call Dave," and it called Dave Richard. So you have now passed my brother in terms of popularity on my phone. Congratulations.
I'm going to give you a chance to just finish this, Adam. Since the Chiefs are going to fall apart next year and Patrick Mahomes will no longer be a top 5 quarterback and Andy Reid will be forced to retire.
Mm-hmm.
Forced.
Just to finish the show. It's late in the show. Not everybody will hear this. Who wins the Super Bowl first? Starting now, the Chiefs or the Giants?
The Chiefs.
Come on, get excited. Sometimes you got your franchise quarterback, you got your franchise wide receiver 1, you got your new head coach. Matt, Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator.
Oh, how about that? Yeah. No, I every single day now, I regret so much my Malik Neighbors trade in the Dynasty League.
Mhm.
And I don't really care about the Giants or Malik Neighbors anymore because of it. So
Why do you regret it?
because this draft sucks. If it were a normal draft and I got picks 11 and 12 and 3 other picks.
I was totally confused.
What?
I thought you were regretting trading Drake May and Trey McBride for Malik Neighbors.
I didn't trade Drake May and Trey McBride.
You did.
I traded Trey McBride and a pick, which became Drake May.
Which was 2 picks after you took Malik Neighbors.
And I think I got a pick. I think I also got a pick, a later pick. Okay. I didn't trade Drake. I didn't have Drake May on my team and give him away. But my handling of Malik Neighbors has been pretty bad. I think we could agree. I have more news and notes. Just Rashee Rice, he last month, he was accused of domestic violence, and the accusers filed a lawsuit. So now there's a lawsuit against Rashee Rice, and we'll obviously track it. And then I saw on ESPN.com this about Dalton Kincaid, who had the knee injury in 2024, as we recall.
2.
Yeah, they only mentioned one of the injuries. They said Kincaid re-aggravated the injury and was hampered by it much of last season, being 2025. He received opinions on whether surgery was the best route from multiple doctors, ultimately concluding he would spend the offseason strengthening everything around his knee to put less stress on the ligaments, according to Brandon Beane. And I just wanted to point out, because we talked about him yesterday, Dalton Kincaid, on the breakup show, and that he barely is on the field. Well, in the first 9 weeks of 2024, Dalton Kincaid's route participation rate was 71.5%. It's good. It's not great. Since then, it's been about 46%. So that was the case I was making. I think before the knee injuries, they were using him differently. I don't know if the knee injuries were the reason for it, but it was a year and a half now of Dalton Kincaid playing through a bad knee, at least one knee.
I don't. The decision to not have surgery was between 24 and 25 or recent?
No, this year.
So he's had knee injuries problems the last 2 years, and he's not having surgery. He's just going to try to strengthen the muscles around it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've had physical therapy before, right? That's what they do.
Yeah.
No, he's not very happy, but he's coming. Give Heath a break. He's coming to terms with the reality.
I'm not. No, obviously, if he saw several doctors, as the report that you read, there were probably some who thought that he should just have surgery.
I have no idea. I read verbatim. He received opinions on whether surgery was the best route from multiple doctors, ultimately concluding he would spend the offseason strengthening everything around his knee to put less stress on the ligaments.
Okay.
That's all I can tell you. I can tell you all to have a wonderful day. We will talk to you next week. Have a great weekend. Jamie and I are going to do some FFT Express, and then I'm going to the DMV. So everyone's excited. We'll talk to you on Monday on Fantasy Football Today.